Today's story is titled, My Estranged Mom Asked Me to Help Her Move. What I found inside was deeply disturbing, by Everblack Death Mask. The link to the story is in the description below. Please enjoy. I never had the best relationship with my mom growing up. When people hear that, they usually assume she must have done something horrible, but the truth is a lot more complicated than that. She's not a bad person per se, but rather a victim of circumstance that didn't know how to ask for help. My father walked out on us when I was just 10 years old. I don't remember him leaving. One day he was there, then the next he was gone without a trace. If there was a note or an explanation of some kind, my mom never told me. All that was left behind, according to her, was an insurmountable debt and the uncertainty of raising a child alone. That kind of pressure is enough to cripple anyone mentally and physically. Unfortunately, my mom was no different. In the years following my dad's departure, my mom found creative ways to remind me that I would amount to nothing like he did. In her drunken stupors, she would hurl insults at me and blame me for her life going down the drain. When I turned 18, I wasted no time packing up the few possessions that I had and getting out of Dodge. For the next 8 years, we didn't reconcile or speak to one another, but all of that changed when my phone lit up with her last name last month. I almost declined the call. After all, what exactly did we have to talk about? I wasn't exactly in the mood to deal with whatever baggage she had, but a morbid curiosity got the best of me. "What do you want?" I answered.
Is that how you answer the phone these days?
For you it is. Years of pent-up bitterness poured out of me. "Lose my number. I've nothing to say to you."
Wait,
It sounded like she was choking up.
I'm sorry for everything, Jordan. I was such a terrible mother. You deserved better.
The silence that followed was not only awkward, but deserved. How exactly was I supposed to respond to that? Yes, I deserved better treatment, and she could have been better herself, but now that I was older, I understood why she was the way she was. After I had spent an uncomfortable amount of time listening to her cry, I spoke up. "Listen, Mom, I don't want to talk about this right now. I'm busy."
When can we talk about it? Is there ever going to be a good time to talk?
"Not really," I admitted with a sigh. "Work keeps me pretty busy these days. I have my own life to live."
I understand.
She sniffled.
Listen, kiddo, I don't have much time left. Cancer is a bitch and it's taking its toll on me physically. I need your help with downsizing. The house is so full these days. Can you please come by and help me move some things out of the house? I can't reach the basement anymore.
I hesitated. Why did she want my help? Couldn't you hire some movers or something?
I could, but I want to talk to you about everything. I'll even pay you.
I rolled my eyes at the proposition. How much?
How does $500 sound?
$500 was $500. That's money that I couldn't turn down, especially with how dire my financial situation was proving to be, despite all the hours I was putting in at my job. "Okay, I'll help." I caved. "When do you need me to come over?"
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate the help.
I could hear the relief in her voice.
Come by whenever you have a day off. I don't want you to overwork yourself.
We exchanged goodbyes, and then I hung up the phone. A few days later, I was driving toward a house that I'd swore I'd never step foot in again. When I pulled into the driveway, I knew immediately that something was off. The grass on the lawn was well above knee height, and the weeds climbing the siding was nearly vines. Yellowed and frayed envelopes overflowed the mailbox. It looked like one more piece of mail would have made it explode. It was odd that the property had been seemingly pushed to the wayside. If she had been able to call me, Then surely she could have contacted a neighbor or someone else who could assist her with these things, right? I couldn't help but feel a little guilty. Had it been a mistake to keep her out of my life while her health deteriorated? I grabbed as much mail as I could fit into my arms and crossed the jungle that was the front lawn towards the front steps. The steps were uneven, cracked mess, and I nearly busted my head when I tripped on the second to last stair. Thankfully, I was able to use the railing to catch my balance, but the mail scattered everywhere across the front porch area. I rang the doorbell and began picking up the mail. Despite it taking me a considerable amount of time to gather the mail, nobody had answered the door. Weird. I rang the doorbell again. I waited a few minutes, but there was still no answer. My eyes wandered toward one of the windows and noticed the curtains were drawn. From what I remember, my mom had always been one to let sunlight in, especially when we would deep clean the house on Sundays. So why was the curtain drawn in the middle of the day? Thinking that maybe she had forgotten the time and dozed off, I set the mail down and called her phone. The persistent ringing echoed from the depths of the house. I listened to her phone ring over and over again, but all my calls went unanswered. Growing more concerned, I pounded on the door and called out to her repeatedly. Nothing. Realizing I wasn't getting anywhere, I ventured towards the side of the house. Unlike the front window, the view through the side windows weren't blocked by curtains, but by clutter. From where I stood on the lawn, I could see piles of various items ranging from boxes and newspapers to decade-old furniture and garbage. My heart broke at the sight.
Jesus, Mom, what happened to you?
I muttered, hopping over the rusted chain-link fence into her backyard. I walked up the stairs to the patio and immediately got chills at what I saw. The back door was cracked open a couple of inches wide. I approached it and was greeted by a horrendous smell that invaded my nostrils. I audibly gagged and pulled my shirt over my nose to shield it from the malodorous household. Gripping the door with one hand, I shoved the mountain of junk obstructing my path with the other. It took a number of attempts, but eventually, it all toppled onto the floor. The gap had widened enough for me to squeeze through. I sidled my way through, my body pressing against more junk as I forced my way inside. The way my feet squelched beneath me made it feel like I was stepping through a field of rotten pumpkins. I had to hold my breath. Even with using my shirt as a makeshift mask, the smell was overwhelming. Years of accumulating mold and spoiled food had transformed my childhood home into a place more akin to a landfill than a home.
Mom?
My voice traveled through the house, but there was still no indication that anybody was home. How could she live like this? The more I wandered through the house, the more bewildered I became. It was hard enough to navigate where I was in this labyrinth of seemingly endless garbage, but the sights were even harder to stomach. In the living room, where my mom had on numerous occasions screamed at me for ruining her life, sat pillars of miscellaneous magazines and newspapers that extended to the ceiling like Jenga towers. In addition to molded food and other debris, broken glass from no longer operable lamps were scattered across the floor. What made me the most nauseous, though, wasn't the narrow pathways from all the junk, or even the couple pounds of hamburger meat infested with flies that was in the kitchen sink. It was the spider webs. They were everywhere. I hate spiders. Ever since I was a child, they've terrified me. One of my earliest memories was finding a spider on the bathroom floor and having to have my mom kill it with a newspaper. So when I saw the webs go from tiny, membranous piles in the corners to being complete, thick tapestries draped across entire pieces of furniture, I nearly left right then and there. But I couldn't leave my mom alone to fend for herself in this dump.
Hey, Mom? I'm here!
My cracking voice was accompanied by the sound of something skittering on the ceiling. My attention drew upward, and I saw spiders crawling slowly amidst the cracks and exposed beams. Trembling, I moved out from my place in the kitchen to the stairway. Ascending the stairs was not the same effortless task it had been growing up. In fact, it was incredibly difficult. The slippery plastic bags and the random cardboard boxes that adorned nearly every individual step made climbing the stairs feel like an obstacle course from hell. After minutes of cautiously choosing my steps wisely, I made it to the top of the stairs. To the left of me was the door to my mom's room. It was exactly how I remembered it, seemingly untouched by time or filth. I grabbed the doorknob and it turned slowly. I pushed the door open, its hinges creaking as it revealed a sight I wasn't expecting. The room was clean. It wasn't spotless, but it was cleaner than the previous areas of the house I'd been in. But that wasn't what grabbed my attention. On the other side of the room, sitting in a recliner, was my mom. Buried beneath layers of dust was her figure sitting idly in a recliner chair by the window. "Mom? What's going on?" I crossed the room towards her. The closer I got, the more frail she became. When I nudged her shoulder, I thought she would have awoken from the nap she had dozed off in, but that's not what happened. I wish that's what would have happened. Instead, her limp body turned to where it faced me, and I nearly screamed. Her eyes were gone. The skin on her face was a discolored mesh of tissue. Her phone was resting on her lap. She was dead.
Oh my God.
I backed away, tears threatening to fall. Had I been here any earlier, maybe she would still be here. The woman who I had wished would suffer for how she had treated me when I was younger was no longer here. I couldn't take back how I felt, what I said, or what I did. Not now, not ever. All I could do was sit on the bed and cry. I had talked to her earlier in that week. I swear I had. If I hadn't talked to her, who had I talked to?
"Jordan, where are you?"
It was my mom's voice. I felt a chill creep up my spine. My eyes darted from my mom's body to the doorway. There was no way that the woman whose deceased body I had just seen with my own eyes had called out to me.
"Honey, I can't find you. The house is so full these days."
I didn't answer. I held my breath as I heard noises coming from somewhere downstairs. I pushed myself upright and listened to the mattress springs settle behind me with a muffled series of pops. Inching my way towards the door, I peered around, but didn't see anyone.
"Jordan, answer me right this instant."
The voice had now grown irritated. It was the voice I had been accustomed to associating with my mom for years. Hearing it again filled me with a dread I hadn't felt since childhood. I didn't heed the command. Instead, I stood in the doorway and listened to the voice grow angrier and closer.
"Don't make me come up there."
This time, the voice became more guttural. I covered my mouth to prevent myself from responding. The sound of shifting clutter and scampering up the stairs filled the house. I retreated to the bedroom, but the floor creaked beneath me, giving me away.
"Jordan, I know where you are."
With a nightmarish rhythm, its abdomen swayed as it stalked forward up the stairs.
"It's been so long since I've seen my boy."
Paralyzed, I couldn't move. I could only stare at the cluster of beady, animalistic eyes that reflected back at me. Beneath them was a face I recognized all too well. It was my mom. Her cheeks sagged and stretched around fangs that clicked together and glistened with saliva. Jointed legs sprawled from beneath, twitching at the slightest disturbance of the chitinous shell that trailed behind it.
"Come give me a kiss."
The thing proclaiming to be my mom clacked its fangs and advanced towards me with patience. I recoiled and shook my head, refusing to give in to this thing's wishes. "Go to hell!" I declared, rushing towards the staircase railing and vaulting over it. The cardboard boxes beneath broke my landing as a wailing, chittering shriek reverberated from above. With an unsettling fluidity, the monstrous silhouette descended the stairs. I barreled through the garbage on the stairs, frantically scrambling back the way I'd come.
You get back here right now, Jordan!
I didn't look back. I kept pushing forward through all the junk. The house became more suffocating with every step I took. Piles of trash trapped my shoes and made it disorienting to know where I was.
Jordan!
My heart thudded against my ribcage as I burst into the kitchen and felt my feet become immediately stuck. I had failed to realize that the surrounding area was engulfed in overlapping layers of webs. Wall to wall, cabinet to cabinet, even the floor. The room had become a trap. I jerked and wiggled, but my movements were no use. Elastic and silky webbing clung to my hands like glue. Hysterically, I kept trying to yank myself free, but the more I struggled, the more adhesive it became. Above me, I heard it scamper before dropping into view from the ceiling. With a thud, it flexed its legs and carried itself toward me. My mom's face had been consumed entirely by ravenous intent.
Got you.
The webs around vibrated with every restricted movement I made. I kicked to keep it at bay, but a second later, it lunged. I backed my head away as its fangs snapped inches from my face. The impact sent me to the floor, and I felt my body sink deeper into the lattice of webbing behind me. Panic coursed through me as I struggled, but the silk clung to my clothes and skin. It pulled me down like a fish being reeled in. The creature adjusted its position and stared down at me with longing and hunger.
Jordan, Mom has missed you so much.
The voice rumbled through the silk, the fangs lowering themselves towards me with an eager precision. But before they could connect, I used what remaining strength I had to pull my hands up and defend my face. They sliced through the webbing, allowing me to free my hands. I kicked and pushed the creature off me. My newfound freedom allowed me to grab a nearby piece of glass from the floor. Turning to face it once more, I stabbed it into the closest eye. With a horrific shriek of pain, it darted toward the wall and retreated up along it.
Jordan! How dare you treat your mother this way? You unappreciative brat!
My legs burned with adrenaline as I struggled against the sticky webbing and hurried toward the back door. It was still cracked from earlier, but I would have to push my way through the same garbage. Not even bothering to look back, I threw myself into the gap shoulder first and powered my way through. I moved as quickly as I could, scraping my skin against the piles and tearing the last strands of webbing clinging to my body. Sunlight peeked through the other side like a beacon of hope, but before I could reach it, something gripped my shoe. I turned to see my mom holding on tightly with her fangs, desperate to drag me back into the house.
Let go!
I pleaded as I kicked repeatedly. My foot squished with every blow that struck an eye or some part of her. A resounding crack filled the air as my foot connected with a fang.
Get back here!
She screamed. I stumbled out onto the back steps and ran faster than I ever have in my entire life towards the fence. After scaling it, I bolted toward my car, hopped into the driver's side, and floored it out of the neighborhood. I never went back. I'm not sure how long I drove for, but when the adrenaline had worn off, I pulled into the parking lot of a grocery store and called 911. The police were hesitant to come check it out initially, but they eventually relented. They found my mom's body in the webs, but they never found the monster wearing my mom's face. That's something I don't really like to think about for too long. What I do think about is the moment I opened the door and saw my lifeless mother sitting in that chair. I don't know how long she sat there for, or how much pain she was in. All I know is that she died alone, and I wasn't there. I can't change that. People talk about her now like she was nothing more than a hoarder, but I don't think about the house when I think of her. I just think of my mom.